welcome to the show. Now, today we are in the Good Stuff Lab. We're getting into the how and why things work the way that they do, like what it takes to pull off a versatile capsule wardrobe, and even the science behind how animals fly. But first, it's all about cooking the perfect steak. So I'm going to show you the difference between a traditionally cooked steak versus a reverse seared steak. Now, has anyone heard of a reverse seared steak before? No. Yeah. Okay, we've got a couple. So what about sous videing? Does that make sense to anyone? Yeah. So reverse sear is kind of similar to sous videing, but it's actually better in my opinion because you get more of a golden brown crust on things. But the first thing I want to do is show you the difference between the two. So here are two steaks. We've got one that's cooked traditionally, and we've also got one that's been reverse seared. So this one here, traditional cook. So I'm just going to cut that baby open. And let's see the inside. So that looks beautiful. That is a beautiful rare steak. Oh my gosh. That's a juicy little steak right there. Honestly, I know I don't eat it, but it smells really good. So with a traditional cooked steak, you typically put it onto a hot grill pan, a grill, or a pan, sear it off at a really high temperature, and then you kind of keep flipping it, or you finish it at a lower temperature, or even pop it in the oven to finish cooking. But what you get is this kind of gradient cook. So on the outside, as opposed to it being kind of medium rare or rare all the way through, you're getting a little bit of a medium cook right about here. And then as it goes through, it kind of gets more towards rare and then back to medium again. So you're kind of getting all the cooks as opposed to just medium rare, which most people are kind of aiming for. Now, with a reverse seared steak, first off, I mean, look at this golden crust all the way across. Like, total dream, dreamy and beautiful. And this steak, first off, cuts like butter, and you get a little bit more of an even cook. Do you see how even that is from the outside to the outside? You get that beautiful pink color. That fat has rendered down a little bit more. So I want to show you how to make this version of the steak. So the first thing you need to do, typically when you're making steak, you want to take it out of the fridge maybe about 20 minutes before you're cooking it to let it come up to room temperature just a bit. But with reverse sear, you want to take it out 2 whole hours in advance. So this technically takes more time, but you're not doing anything. You're just taking steak out of the fridge and putting it on the counter for 2 hours. You can do whatever the heck else you want during those 2 hours. So once that's come up to room temp, you want to dry it off with paper towel. This is like a classic thing anytime you're looking for golden brown color. So we've got that beautiful, I mean, look at these steaks. We're going big today. A lot of good steak today. So that is beautiful. It's nice and dried off, which is looking perfect. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to pop this onto a rack-lined baking sheet. What this does is it allows the heat of the oven, because we're going to start these in the oven, to actually get all the way around that steak. There's going to be no kind of steam building up. It's just going to get cooked all the way around, which is exactly what we're looking for. So that's looking great. Now onto there, I want to season those really well with some salt and pepper. So unless you're making a pan sauce with your steak, you can season this until like your heart's content. Like just season it up, because most of that salt actually falls off in the cooking process. And since this is such a thick cut of meat, you want to give it a good season. And speaking of the thickness of this meat, when you're reverse searing, you can't do this to really any cut. It needs to be at least 1.5 inches thick, because basically it's a slow, gradual cook. And if you were to do it on a thinner piece, it just wouldn't cook up nice. So I like to do like a porterhouse, a rib steak, a T-bone, even a filet works, but I'm just not a big fan of filet steaks. I don't know why. Filet mignon sounds fancy, I don't love it. But you do you. So I'm popping on a little bit of pepper onto there too. That's looking beautiful. Again, I would season the underside as well. And now my next tip, anytime you're cooking any sort of steak, but in particular with a reverse sear, and this is also great as we get into the holiday season, is you wanna use a digital probe thermometer. This little baby will make sure everything you cook is perfectly cooked. So you get the one that you can plug into the meat essentially, leave this on the outside of the oven, and it's gonna tell you when it's done. So as opposed to you checking the temperature, you just stick that probe right on in there and then let it do its thing. Now, for this steak, for reverse searing, you wanna set this temperature, this thermometer, to go off at 115 degrees for medium rare. Now, for any temperature heads out there, you're gonna be like, that's not medium rare, that's blue. That's the most raw steak in the world. But with a reverse sear, we want to start it in the oven, and then we're going to sear it, which is going to bring it up to that 135. So I'm going to pop this into a 250-degree oven, which is a very low oven. And that needs about 30 to 35 minutes. Now, this sounds like you're gonna ruin a steak, but you're not. It's just gonna slowly kind of bring up the internal temperature, evenly cook it, and it's gonna look beautiful. So that's gonna do its thing. Again, rely on that temperature thermometer, but while that does its thing, I'm gonna make a béarnaise sauce, because we're fancy today in this lab. So the first thing I wanna do for a béarnaise sauce is I'm gonna combine some vinegar and wine. So I want about a 1/4 cup of white wine vinegar just in a pot. And then into there, I'm also gonna add a 1/4 cup of dry white wine. Now, a béarnaise sauce is kind of sort of like a vinegary kind of tarragon-y hollandaise sauce. It's really nice and bright and delicious, but it's fatty and wonderful. It's just a butter sauce to put on your steak. What's wrong with that? So into there, I'm also gonna add in a little bit of shallot. So I've got some shallot over here, and I'm just gonna chop that up a little bit. I'm just gonna thinly slice mine. You just want it to kind of steep in that vinegar, give it a little bit of that shalloty flavor. So I'm gonna pop that into that vinegar and wine mixture, as well as a little bit of tarragon. Now, I love tarragon. It's really, really nice. It's kind of licoricey, but not in a gross way, because not everyone loves a licorice flavor. I'm just gonna throw the whole sprig in. You can also chop it up if you want. Just toss that on in. You bring that up to a simmer, just a good boil over about medium-high heat, and cook that down until it's reduced to about 1.5 to 2 tablespoons. So I've got some here, and now I'm gonna strain that into a blender, because anyone who tells you that you're gonna have to make a hollandaise or a béarnaise sauce over a double boiler whisking the whole time, tell them no. Tell them just use your blender. It's so much easier. So I'm just gonna strain that beautiful infused vinegar and wine into there. That's gonna bring so much flavor. And into there, I'm gonna throw in 3 egg yolks. Egg yolks are the base of any sort of good kind of rich sauce. It's really nice. I'm also adding in about a teaspoon of lemon juice just to give a bit of citrusy kind of acidity into here. Again, we're about to add so much butter, so you need a little bit of acidity to cut through that. Perfect. Season that with a little bit of salt. I'm gonna give that a really quick blitz just to combine everything in there. Perfect. Now I'm gonna open up this vent cap, and this is where things can get a little bit messy, but that's totally okay. I have got 1/2 cup of hot melted butter right here, and you want it to be nice and hot. And essentially all I need to do is strain this or drain this right on through this vent cap with this mixer running, and it's gonna become a beautiful béarnaise sauce. We are in the Good Stuff lab today, learning how and why things work the way they do. So I thought I'd show you how to make the perfectly cooked reverse seared steak with a béarnaise sauce, because like we're fancy like that, you know? All right, so first off, can we just deal with these babies? So these do not look golden brown yet, do they? But I can tell you that they are cooked through to that 115. Because I use that digital probe thermometer, that's letting me know exactly what's going on the insides of these babies. And remember how I talked about sous videing steak before? It's a really great method, but it's a wet method. And moisture is the enemy of golden brown. So when you sous vide something, you've got it in a bag, all its juices are staying in, which sounds great, but then when you go to sear it, it's really wet on the outside. So it has the tendency to steam. So by doing this reverse sear method in the oven, basically it dries out the outside, and you're gonna get more of what's called the Maillard reaction. And that's the thing that gives you that golden brown color on everything from like delicious chocolate chip cookies to beautiful steak. It's a very good thing. So we've got those out of the oven now, and they were in there for about 1/2 hour. I'm gonna use a little bit of oil. You can also use some butter. Not that we used enough butter earlier, but that's okay. And I'm just gonna drizzle a little bit on the outsides of these steaks. I always like to put the oil or butter on the steaks themselves as opposed to in the pan, because I find it gets really splattery if you put it in the pan. This way you get the perfect amount of oil to coat it, but you're not ending up with like soup, like weird steak oil soup, which we don't want. All right, just a little bit of oil on there. That is looking perfect. So now I wanna sear these babies off. This is the exact opposite way that you'd normally do a steak. Typically you sear it in the pan, then finish it in the oven. We flip that with the reverse sear method. So I've got a pan, that is smoking hot. You can also do this on like the hottest barbecue you've got, but you want it to be as hot as possible. Basically, all I'm gonna do is grab this steak, pop it in this pan. Do you see that smoke? This is actually what we're looking for. This is one of those good times where you're hoping your cooktop is like a fire hazard and you're good to go. So that baby is gonna sear off for just about, I'm gonna get away from my rock and roll music. I feel like I'm in a band, very cool. That is gonna sear for just about 2 to 3 minutes per side, but already you get that color on there. This is maybe like a little smoking hot, a little over, but like, do you see that color already building on that steak? That is gonna bring that temperature up beautifully. And again, we're all John Bon Jovi today. Rock and roll in this kitchen. All right, now we happen to have that beautiful steak over here. Another thing that's great about the reverse sear method, other than making this ambiance, is the fact that you don't actually have to rest it before you serve it. Speaking of serving it, I don't eat steak. So I got my pal Justin coming on in to help me out. Hey, Justin.
Mary.
How's it going, man?
Great.
First off,
How are you?
are you a steak man?
I am steak man.
Okay, do you like like a béarnaise sauce?
I love a béarnaise sauce.
Okay, let's do like a little, let's do just a little bit of a pour.
Oh my God.
Right over that top. This is creamy, it's a little bit acidic, it's beautiful.
This looks insane.
I know.
Yeah.
What time is it, like 10 something?
Yeah, that's okay.
This
Steak
is
for
a night.
breakfast.
Steak for
Yeah,
breakfast.
I'm
Steak
okay
and eggs,
with
we
that.
just should have, oh, well, we got the eggs in the béarnaise
That's
sauce.
right, yeah.
There you go, okay, you wanna give it a go?
Yes, I do.
Okay, perfect.
Here we go.
Oh, look at that steak!
I'm so glad you're vegetarian.
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Oh my God.
Pretty good, right?
Reverse sear.
I know, man. The science of steak.
I'm sorry.
I'm glad I have this man as my bud.
I have to keep eating.
He's got to keep eating. We got to take a quick. Hey, Mary here. What did you think? Drop your comments below and don't forget to like and subscribe for more of the good stuff.